Opening in the middle of the Golden State, about halfway between San Francisco and Reno, Nevada, lies Sacramento, California's capital and current bastion of Pete Wilson's Republican rule. As irony would have it, it is also home to a thriving music scene, and Sacramento's hard-hitting Deftones play a major role. The four members of Deftones who have enjoyed a tight camaraderie since childhood and have breathed sonic fire into otherwise quiet suburban streets for the past 4 years, agree that few in the outside world know about it. Sacramento's a killer music scene, says guitarist Stephwn Carpenter, but it's just not a great club scene. There's like one good club and a couple of other places, but people really don't go out here much. But the lack of a proper local outlet for the group to unleash their unique brand of musical fury hasn't stopped them. Instead, they hit the road and began building a following in the Bay Area, Reno, and LA, touring with everyone from Bad Brains and Korn to L7 and Quciksand. After 4 years of persistent gigging and juggling their day jobs, they worked their way from a demo existence to a record deal with Maverick. Carpenter says, when you're a new band, it's hard to convince clubs in different cities to let you play and pay you. It's not like bands can just travel anywhere at the drop of a hat. I mean, nobody minds playing for free half the time, but when it comes to traveling, you still have to pay for costs, so it adds up. In Deftones' case, it has definitely paid off. The band's Maverick debut, Adrenaline, which features such songs as Nosebleed, Lifter, and the musical 7 Words, bristles with determination, frustration, and passion. Producer Terry Date captures the dynamics of the band in the studio without quelling the raw energy behind it, recording much of it live. The 11 tracks are tinged with a variety of subtle stylistic shadings that keep the music fresh, though he can screech and howl as viscerally as his most anxiety-ridden contemporaries. Enigmatic frontman Chino Moreno's vocals also have a melodic flair, notably on Root and the surprise 11th track, Fist. That same melodic sensibility often creeps into Carpenter's abrasive guitar for interludes of harsh tunefulness. Moreno says, I think that one of the best things we have going for us is our dynamics. There's never too much of anything. It's not like there's a real heavy song and then a real soft song. Each of our songs contain many different levels. Just as the band refuses to be pigeonholed sonically, they also remain abstract lyrically, preferring to express themselves more in a stream of consciousness fashion. Like many of their influences, the band never stops long enough to be pinned down, which definitely keeps things interesting. With White Pony, their third Maverick album, Deftones have made a record as erotic as it is brutal, as dynamic as it is hushed, as relentless as it is gentle, as hooky as it is experimental, and as lush as it is tight. Firmly grip your nerves and prepare for the defining sonic rush. This White Pony offers an emotional ride with great rewards for those who survive it. Chino Moreno said, I see boundaries more clearly now than I used to. I'm better at toying with people cerebrally than I was a few years ago. I'm better at fucking with your head. Deftones were formed back in 1988, but their first debut was only in 1995. At that time, we met Deftones with Adrenaline, a combustible compound of razor blade riffs, rumble, rage, and rapish delivery. The record, besides selling 500,000 copies, laid the foundation for the heavy movement that followed and continues today. Even then, we heard hints that this was not a band concerned with traditions or bothered by musical borders. Around the tempestuous bursts of hardcore were passages of eerie quiet and vulnerability. There was something pretty in the skirmish of feedback and cymbal wash, a mermaid surfacing in a mossy swamp. Chino knew from the get-go that nothing enduring is ever obvious, and so opted not so much to outright tell a story, but rather cloak it in imagery for your imagination to undress. As he sang in that album's 7 Words, you and me are here alone, face flat along the edge of the glass. "2 years, countless packed houses, and one major riot in Arizona later, the guys delivered Around the Fur. No less ferocious than its predecessor, the album was pure passion and well evolved beyond the standby whisper to scream trick. Deftones spread to both extremes, seeking the logical limits of guitar savagery, while flirting with a gothic or new wave sense of spook and haunting sparseness. Chino was more aware of himself, and better able to translate what obsessed or enraptured him into his words. "There's still blood in your hair and I've got the bruise of the year, but there's something about her long, shady eyes," he sang in Mascara. Rock and alternative radio played Be Quiet and Drive, and MTV played the video for My Own Summer, a creepy clip showing the band playing atop floating cages while hungry sharks circled below. Ceaseless road work followed, including stints on both Warped and Ozfest. Somehow in there they found time to cut a mesmerizing version of Depeche Mode's To Have and to Hold for an album saluting the synth-pop progenitors. When they played Detroit with Black Sabbath on Valentine's Day 1999, they were unfazed when all their gear was stolen in a van robbery. Around the Fur went gold. Eventually, Deftones returned to Sacramento and began the soul mining and arrangement experiments that would become White Pony. By this time, the neo-hardcore sound the band had been so instrumental in pioneering was the toast of our nation. Countless acts ran to the proven formulas, but the Deftones saw no need to revisit the past in creating White Pony, only a need to satisfy themselves. Co-produced by the band and Terry Date, White Pony was cut at Sausalito, California Legendary Plant Recording Studios, and at Larrabee Sound in Hollywood. The process was not speedy, but the results musically and emotionally are stunning. Stephwn Carpenter's wall of wash and wail stretches from here to the cosmos. Cheese bass falls like a 10-ton anchor. Abe Cunningham's drums are beaten senseless, and Frank Delgado dots the landscape with found sounds and needle drops while Chino unleashes surreal tirades and unloads his cargo of uncertainty and longing. The siren riff opens Phytocera, and you're off on a volatile, visceral journey. Stops include a blood-raw hail of bullets, a warm slab of murderous love, and one ascending and ambling album closer that manages to be simultaneously infectious, progressive, expansive, and claustrophobic. Tool frontman Maynard James Keenan co-wrote, and volleys vocals with Chino on passenger, an aphrodisiacal road trip of echoes and twinkling keys punctuated by explosive choruses. Short after, it's a realm immeasurably enriched by everything that's gone before. From the 1-2 punch of Adrenaline in 1995 and Around the Fur in 1997, to the breakthrough success of 2000's Grammy-winning Platinum Plus seller White Pony featuring the smash hit Change in the House of Flies, Deftones makes a huge leap into a vast new sonic space, fueled by nearly 2 years of non-stop global touring that took the band from the US to Europe, Asia, Australia, South America, and back again. Stephwn says, "We couldn't sit still. We had built up a lot of creative steam on the road and were hitting on all cylinders. You can't just turn that off. We tried relaxing and living like regular civilians, but it wasn't happening. We'd forgotten how." Chino says we kicked it for about 3 months, then got bored. We drifted back together, started writing songs and messing around at the spot, the rehearsal space and studio we had built for ourselves. And we could tell immediately that we were onto something. It just came naturally. Abe says playing in the studio is just an extension of playing live for us. We have the same focus and energy, the same way of making it a party no matter what's going on around us. It's been 3 years since we put out White Pony, and we were under a lot of pressure to follow it up. We just ignored all that shit. When the time was right, we all knew it. By the summer of 2002, the time was definitely right. The band had brought their music to a whole new level thanks to a blistering touring schedule that kept them sharp, focused, and formidable night after night. Chino says we are a band. We eat, sleep, and everything else you can think of together. As a band, we don't know another way. It was a common bond also forged with fans around the world. People are the same wherever you go. And music is the same in any language. I could tell you we were surprised about the way people reacted to us no matter where we played. But we weren't. It was like the same party everywhere, just different directions to get to the place. Those directions eventually landed the band back at their home base in Sacramento, featuring such blazing standouts as Needles and Pins, the dark smoldering Deathblow, the jagged scrawl of Battle Axe, and the blistering yet unnervingly melodic first single Minerva. Deftones takes the band off the road right through the studio and straight into your ears.